just as promised, the man himself is here. You might have heard him briefly there just before the break. Bill Bean is here with me live on the Kev Baker Show. I absolutely love it when we team up once a month to catch up with what Bill's been doing. Of course, Bill is known as the spiritual warrior, and he is a renowned spiritual warfare deliverance minister stroke exorcist, and is known, like I say, as the spiritual warrior. He's also an internationally known author, lecturer, and supernatural expert. Bill is currently appearing in several episodes of a show called A Haunting. Now, I think you can get that on the Travel Channel, but I know we can get it over here in the UK. I'll check that out for people. And he regularly, get this folks, he joins George Norrie on Coast to Coast AM. He's also appeared in the Lifetime movie network series called I Was Possessed. And Bill has helped people in over 40, that's 40 different countries, and is anointed in the area of spiritual warfare deliverance ministry that addresses anything from curses, blocks, attachments, obsession, oppression to possession by demonic spirits. He's also a life coach, providing guidance and advice on how to be strong in mind, body and spirit, and oh how important that is in the times we live. Now, with great sensitivity and understanding, Bill Bean helps his clients to find solutions to a wide array of life challenges. He works with each client to help them build on their strengths to identify and achieve goals. And I'm just proud to say he's a good friend of mine. Bill, welcome back to the show, man.
Thank you so much, my brother. You are family to me and will always be family. And I must begin by saying hi to your wonderful family and loving God bless all of them and hope they're doing well.
Well, my
and
mum,
loving God bless everybody out there that's listening and watching.
My mum has got the book. She went and got herself Stranger Than Fiction, so that's sitting on the coffee table as we speak. She'll be tuning in right now.
Love it.
And I was telling the audience, that, you really can. I can testify to the work you do. You've helped me, you've helped my mum, and in particular, you've helped my kid brother as well. And that's why I absolutely 110%, I'm always proud of the fact that I can bring you onto the show here. Because I was talking about charlatans and mediums that are faking things, before you came on, Bill. But you are the real deal, man. Absolutely the real deal.
Well, we praise God for that. We praise God. It's my honor and pleasure, Kev. I love you dearly. And it's my honor and pleasure always. And I always look forward to being on with you. And I just thank God and praise God because, it's funny that you're bringing this up because the last family that I went to was recently in Denver. And the man said to me, he said, I have to tell you, I was against this because I thought you were a fake. I thought you were a fraud. And I performed a deliverance over him. So he told me this after I performed the deliverance. And Kev, let me tell you, a demon came out of that man. He felt it come out. I saw it. And the lady, his lady friend saw it as well come out. And he could feel it come out of him. So he hugged me so tight after everything was over with, it continued to thank me. And I always say the same thing, praise God, don't thank me. It's all God. It's not me. It's the power of God working through me. But he said that to me. He said, I really thought you were some kind of fake or a fraud. And he said, I will shout from the highest mountaintops now and tell anybody who will listen that you are the real deal. And I said, again, this is God. This is not me. This is God working through me. And the reason I'm here is because God has sent me here and God has worked for me to take this from you.
Absolutely, man. And, I needed your help after being touched by the cold, dead hand of Crowley, as I like to call it. And I can't remember if I shared this with you the last time, but went on to find out, Bill, that his ashes are allegedly spread on that property in one of the underground passageways. So probably adds to...
I would not doubt that for a second, Kev.
That absolutely adds to everything that I experienced when I went there. But what have you been up to, Bill? Because you mentioned that one deliverance there. And you were saying to me that...
Oh, my goodness.
Since the turn of the year, it's been crazy, right?
It has been insane. I'm supposed to be in Chicago right now, and I had to cancel my trip because they got an ice storm there at Chicago. And So I'll be going there next week. But Kev, ever since the first of the year, I don't know what has happened. If things have intensified, that's my best guess, because people are contacting me for, now I've always been busy, but is the next notch now. It's unbelievable how many people are contacting me for help.
And I mean, usually we kind of get into some of your stranger encounters. Was the man that you were speaking about, is that probably one of the stranger ones, Bill? Because I've not heard about you talking about almost physically experiencing the demons jumping out of people.
Yeah, and, it varies. It varies from victim to victim, person to person. And that one, yes, that poor guy. And I could tell as soon as I saw him, and his friend as well. She had a lot going on with her. And sometimes people go years, Kev, and this stuff just stays with them, and it oppresses them. And these people feel like they're cursed, like nothing ever goes right. It's just amazing. And I was one of those people that carried around that kind of demonic oppression and attachment for so many years before being delivered. So she, too, had problems, but those demons didn't come out of her in the way that, I'm telling you, Kev, it was very, very clear. This demon that came out of this man, and boy, he started before, and this is another thing that happens in these deliverances. The person, especially if they have a strong demonic attachment or even demonic possession, when God starts to work through me to take this from the person, they will start to shake. It's like a volcano building. And then all of a sudden, when it finally builds up to where God's power is at its peak working through me, then it's like an explosion, and this will come out. And there's times that people will vomit. They will belch. They will, because most times it comes out through the mouth. And so let's just say that it's quite a sight when these things finally do depart. And it's something that you would have to see to believe. So for anyone out there that is skeptical of what I'm saying, I wouldn't wish it on you. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But it would be something that you would actually have to see for yourself to truly understand, believe, and appreciate what I'm saying.
See, that's funny you say that. It's funny you say that, because, unbeknown to you in hour one, that's something I always kind of preface our shows with. The people that maybe roll their eyes and kind of shake their head at all of this. It's only really once you've had that personal experience that you really can truly appreciate. Like I say, there's a spiritual aspect to everything. And it's maybe only once you've had that experience you have your eyes open to that, Bill.
I totally agree. And so this is why I understand how some people can say, oh, I don't believe in any of that. Well, if you've never experienced it, I can understand why you wouldn't believe in it, or why you would, and may it never happen to you. That's what I say. But I will say this. I would ask for those who don't believe in these things to look, I'm not here to twist anybody's arm into anything. I'm just presenting the facts as they are and the truth as it is. That doesn't mean you have to believe me. I hope that it never happens to you, but I would ask you to respectfully consider, or not, but still be respectful in the sense, because, there are people from time to time, very seldom, but there are, people that will either post messages, whether it's on your feed from the videos or any kind of forum or whatever, and make those things, oh, you're a fake, this is all fake. Well, look, you're entitled to your opinion, but I ask that you really examine things before you come to such a quick conclusion. And I could say there'd be hundreds of people that would beg to differ that, that this is fake or, not authentic or whatever. And again, I praise God for this calling, because it's all God. It's not me. I'm nobody. I'm just somebody that God works through to help people. And when I have moments of reflection, which are very rare because I'm always moving forward onto the next person, but when I do, it's truly mind-boggling the amount of people from around the world, like you mentioned in the beginning, Kev. 40 different countries. I just can't fathom that, but that is the power of God.
No, you're absolutely right, Bill. I mean, 40 different countries, and I don't think there's any country right now that's immune for some of this activity that's on the rise. And before you came on again, I was speaking about these fakes, these charlatans, these pretenders, and that really is a good segue into something that you sent me a story on just before we went on air tonight. And this is to do with this John of God religious cult.
Yeah.
Bill, what is going on there, man?
Well, this is another one that, and how can I say this, Kev? I love all people, and I would do anything to help anybody, and I'm not better than anybody else, but I do get very, very incensed when I read about these things, and this is another charlatan that was promoted by Oprah for all these years as the greatest thing, and he was this great healer, and he could do this and that, and thousands of people, wanted to go to this individual. Well, the truth has come out now that this is a very wicked individual. I'm sorry to say, I don't take any joy in reporting that this individual is totally wicked, but he is. And he's been part of the sex slave industry and having these, what they call farms, to where they're having these sex slaves to have all these babies that go into the black market. And then, they're sold into the black market. This individual has ties to all of the cast of the usual players in this activity. All you have to do is connect the dots, and this group of names, these high-profile elite names, always seem to pop up when you're connecting the dots in these types of things, in this sex slave trade industry, whether it's Pizzagate or whatever it may be. All the names seem to pop up, and it is just absolutely... it should, I pray, that the masses who, follow Oprah and think she's so great, all this kind of stuff, I hope that it'll give them pause and say, wait a minute now. She promoted this guy and promoted this guy and promoted this guy, and now we see this guy's fruit. And Jesus said, you'll know them by their fruits. And we see this guy's fruit now. I hope that it'll give some people pause, because be careful who you follow. And put your trust in God. You don't have to put your trust in any man. Put your trust in God. And if you have a true and real and close personal relationship with God, then he will give you holy discernment to see and understand what is going on in our world. It's more important now than ever before. And look, you don't have to take my word for anything that I'm saying here. Do the research for yourself. You are free to make your choices. God gave us free will. I understand that. I'm not trying to twist anybody's arm into anything or to believe any certain way. I'm just presenting the facts. And the fact of the matter is that our world is under attack now. Our very way of life is under attack. And this is not an understatement, or it is an understatement. This is not an exaggeration by any means. We are in a time like no other. We have all of these things taking place simultaneously, and in my opinion, this is a total attack against humanity, and this is coming from the devil himself, and God is allowing this as part of the great deception, and even the very elect are deceived. I have to give a shout-out to my new good friend in Ireland named Enda, and God worked through me to help him. He's like us, Kev. He's very, very awake. He's a good man. And he, too, wants to go on to become a spiritual warrior, and I believe that God has put a calling on his life to do just that. But he has some people in his life, and that he's aware of, that do not have the spiritual discernment that God has given to us, and all we can do is pray for them, because they can't see the truth, and furthermore, they will condemn those who try to show people the truth.
No, absolutely, Bill. And, it's something that's symptomatic of the times that we're living in. And what you're talking about here is, we see more and more stories about how people leaving school now, absolutely no interest in God or Christianity, anything like that. And then I was reading a story about the rise of the satanic temple over in the US. Now, again, I'm not attacking the satanic temple per se. I was using it as an indication of the times we're living in. And, it's like deception, like you say, Bill, because I was reading through the seven kind of tenets, the seven commandments of this. And a lot of it sounds really quite appealing, you be compassionate to one another and empathetic to one another. Good selling point to get you in the door, but it's what goes on after that. They're just trying to get you in the door by deception.
That's absolutely right. The devil is the original liar. He's the original salesman. He is, the original slickster. So he will present something as something that's so cool and so good and so positive. And how in the world can you knock something like that? What are you, crazy? These people, they have good intentions. They help people. They don't want anything bad to happen to anybody. They're all about love and blah, 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 blah. Well, this goes right back again to what I just said about holy discernment from God. And when we are in step with God and in that type of connection with God, he will give us the discernment, and he'll show us what is good and what is not, what is good and what is bad, and what we should do and what we shouldn't do. And so this is why it's so important to have that type of discernment. Most people don't have it now, Kev, and I think there's been a real effort to calcify the pineal gland, which the New Agers call the third eye. Is the pineal gland, and in my opinion, that is the antenna, that is the receiver device that we have in receiving information from God and keeping our connection with God strong. There's a real effort to calcify that so it will break or distort the connection with God. Therefore, humans won't have that type of spiritual discernment, and it is really working here, I'm sorry to say, on a lot of people, to where they feel that they have no connection with God and certainly don't have any spiritual discernment whatsoever. Therefore, they will follow along with anyone or anything, hence the stupid bowl. And, I stopped watching the NFL several years ago, and for various reasons. And look, are you going to hell because you watch the NFL? I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that it is a deception. And it's part of a demonic deception to suck people in and to make them think that they're part of something that they are not. I just made a post about this several days ago about how, and I used to be one of these radical fans years ago, Kev, to where you feel like you're a part of the team and you know everything about the team and you see all the games and you postpone your appointments or whatever it is to make sure you're there for the game. And you're so invested in every way and financially as well. But yet, the flip side of that is you're not a part of the team. They don't know you. You don't have a spot on the roster. You don't have a locker. You don't have anything to do. They don't know your name. They don't know you exist. They know your money exists. But that is the reality of it. It is a fantasy, and people who are perhaps trying to live vicariously through these athletes, maybe that's taking place, in my situation. I was a great athlete as a child going into being a young man, and then those tragedies took place, and I couldn't be an athlete anymore. So I guess I was trying to live vicariously through those athletes. Whatever the case may be, it's wrong, it's idol worship, and God will not be second to anyone or anything. And so I would ask people to really listen to what I'm saying, and you don't have to believe it, but consider what I'm saying, pray about it, ask God if what I'm saying is true or not, and don't be deceived anymore. Don't fall into these traps. So that was bad enough, and these games are fixed, Kev. They're fixed. These big games are fixed. I think they know who's going to win the Super Bowl before the season even starts. Look, I'm not saying the action's not real, because people do get hurt. It is real action. It's just like professional wrestling. They're predetermined outcomes, but wrestlers do get injured. The action does get real sometimes. I understand that. But these are predetermined outcomes. This is sports entertainment, and people are under a spell. This is mind control. This is a way to control the masses and get your money, really. So, once they get you totally hooked in and get you totally devoted, they're going to get your money. They're going to get everything from you. And then, to further it, just like with this stupid bowl, they have this Adam Levine and this Maroon 5. Totally satanic, Kev. And again, I'm sorry for anybody out there that likes Adam Levine and Maroon 5 or whatever. I'm sorry. But their lyrics are totally satanic. And this is a group that has a song called Animals. And in this post I made, I posted all the lyrics. I posted the link to the video for the song. So I'm not making this up. And so the song Animals is about him being a serial killer that wants to stalk, rape, and eat this woman. That's what the song's about. And yet this guy and his group are lifted up like the greatest thing going, and they're on this tremendous stage for this Super Bowl, and millions of people are following along, and they think that this is great, this is cool, and there's no repercussions from this. Well, I got news for you. This is all Illuminati mind-controlled programming, and it doesn't go anywhere good. I can guarantee you that.
Absolutely. And people in our circles, Bill, I totally agree with you about the NFL and it being rigged, by the way. I mean, the NFL, they're the biggest winners when it comes to the Super Bowl. They own everything, right?
Yeah.
So I'm totally with you there. And it used to be, in our circles, very popular because of that halftime show, like you say. This was almost like a public ritual that is watched by millions.
It is.
Yeah.
It's not almost like, brother, it is. It's a real ritual. It's an invocation.
And you've got millions of people tuning in from around the world, absolutely oblivious to what's actually going on. And you mentioned the pineal gland there, and I'm with you, Bill. I think that is our connection. That is our quantum entanglement with the Holy Spirit. And I don't think we appreciate the power of our own minds when we're all thinking about the same thing, when we're all looking in unison at the same ritual going on. I think there's a real kind of, the elites, the Illuminati, call them what you will, they really benefit greatly from the fact that all of us are tuning into that, paying attention and sharing our consciousness with the event that's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's sad. It really is. People don't realize that when you're taking in stuff like that and other things in this TV programming or movies or music as well, most people don't realize that these so-called stars they have handlers, they have masters, they are puppets for their masters, and they have to carry out certain things, and that includes invocation of demonic forces and rituals that invoke demonic forces and cast spells on people. Now, again, for those listening in or watching, you don't have to believe a word I'm saying, but I urge you to research it. And when you see strange things taking place, whether it's hand gestures or words that don't make any sense, chances are that these individuals, they know exactly what they're doing and saying, and they are invoking the power of the devil. And another thing that you'll see on a lot of these stages nowadays, Kevin, it's been going on for a while now, you will see these sigils. It's like a circular thing that looks like a Stargate, a portal, and then these sigils in there, and that's part of invoking these demonic spirits to where they could come through.
Yeah,
and the masses just have no idea what's taking place.
I think these symbols, when you dig down deep into it, they're like Enochian keys. This is like the keys of Enoch, and Bill is absolutely right here. They're literally opening portals to other dimensions for these entities in plain sight. And it's almost a way of getting round our free will, Bill, the fact that we sit there and enjoy it as a form of entertainment, that we give them the right to do this. Because I think what people have to realise, and I think you would agree with me, is, first and foremost, we have to appreciate that we live in a magical world. It's a world dictated by magical spells. the words that we use. Literally, we spell our words. So we have to really appreciate that the world's more like Lord of the Rings than it is what most people think is reality.
They just can't see it, Kev. They can't see it because they get into that box of the everyday routine, and they think that life consists of these, few little things that are inside of that box in their life, and they can't see outside of that box the real picture. So therefore, they are really slaves to the puppet master that God has allowed. Again, God has allowed the devil this time. He's allowed him to have this time in this world to do what he's doing. And this is why it's so important for people to be awake, because of the times that we're in right now.
We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Kev Baker. Bill Bean is our special guest right here on the Kev Baker Show tonight, and I will be jumping on over onto Joe Joseph's show immediately after this one. He has roped me in, kicking and screaming. I'll be joining Joe Joseph after the break on the Freedom Link, so please, no need to go anywhere. Like I said, I've got Bill Bean with me here tonight. His latest book is called Stranger Than Fiction, and I urge all of you to check that out. Not because I've got a chapter in there, but just because it's an all-round great book. And Bill, it talks about many of the subjects that I alone on here, and with you as well, cover. We've got the UFOs, we've got Bigfoot, Mothman, and I've been in contact with somebody else who actually added a portion into your book. Mike Stupa, great guy, and what a story he's got to tell. And we're going to try and bring him on with us next time, right?
I hope the next time we can get him on. Love him dearly. He's a brother. He's a great man. And he wrote a fantastic account there. I mean, this was an account of Officer Brian Goslin, which I have had contact with Brian and his wife, Sue. They're wonderful people as well. I'm going to be visiting them once spring comes. They live in Vermont, and boy, it's brutal up there. It's very difficult to get to where they live at, to drive. It's, with the winter weather and all the snow. So I'll wait till spring, and then I'm going to go up and see them, and very much look forward to meeting them. And I appreciate them allowing Mike to relay the story that I put in the book. It's a very, very important chapter, and they're all important, really. I mean, the chapter that you have in there, just amazing, so well written and so powerful. And I've had so much great feedback from people on both of those chapters and other chapters as well, that, the whole book is a winner, and I praise God for that. And I didn't want to write that book entirely in my voice. I felt that God was guiding me to seek others who have had experiences and others that could really contribute to make the book even more powerful. So I'm very, very thankful to God for guiding me in that way. And I thank you. I thank Mike Supa and everybody else that was a part of that great book. And it's had nothing but positive reviews. And again, I'm very thankful for it. And the most important thing is that people, when they read it, they can understand how I'm able to connect the dots with all the phenomena. And just like what we've been talking about here, Kev, the reason I'm saying this and the reason I speak so passionately about it is because this is part of it as well. This is part of connecting the dots, because this is taking place in our world, and this is part of the reason as to why so many people are coming under spiritual attack now, because they're taking in these things and they don't realize that they're taking in poison. It is spiritual poison, which is contributing to demonic attacks and the increase of demonic attacks. So again, like the book Stranger Than Fiction, I'm thankful that I was able to have multiple voices in the book, and I was able to connect the dots through each and every account that all this phenomena is very much connected, including what we were previously talking about.
And Bill, I obviously contributed on the technology side, the CERN side, and I'm still kind of pinching myself. And never did I realize, never did I appreciate that the geek in me, the one that loves all the science and the technology, never did I appreciate that it would be playing such a major part in the rise of these dark forces. And you look no further than CERN or the D-Wave computer. And I have to ask you, I mean, I don't know if you've heard about CERN's latest plans, but by 2040, they are going to have a 100-kilometre ring, Bill. The Chinese, they're building one that's a 100-kilometre ring as well. And talk about, you know, if we're letting demonic entities in right now, that's going to be like a demonic superhighway that they're opening.
Yeah, and I feel that they already have like these little substations in places like Chicago and probably even New York as well. And this is why, you know, in those areas, you're having these sightings of Mothman-type creatures and even other like flying dragons and all this kind of stuff. People are reporting this stuff now, Kev, on a regular basis. And I absolutely believe this is why, because these portals have been opened now, and God only knows what is coming through and what can and will come through. And this is why I'm imploring people. I'm not trying to twist your arm to do anything, but out of love and out of experience and a knowing of what is taking place and what is coming, I'm urging all of you to please seek your personal relationship with God so you can have a strong connection. Allow Jesus to come into your life and guide you, because you are going to need it. We are all going to need this holy, divine discernment to get us through these things that are here and these things that are coming.
And, you know, Bill, I often say to you, I mean, how bad do things have to get, right, before we hit that tipping point? And there's a couple of stories have caught my attention. They've caught yours as well. And I think it's Virginia, where basically they've legalized infanticide, where now you can have abortions basically up to full term. And in my opinion, you know, that can be called nothing other than murder. But at the same time as that's going on, you've got these celebrities who are coming out and celebrating these kind of things and coming away with outrageous comments about the sort of things that they want to be doing. Talk to us about Silverman and what she's added to this whole thing.
And before I get into her, I mean, again, back to Oprah again. Oprah and her cronies are promoting get your abortions now, get as many abortions as you can before Trump puts a stop to this, and all these types of things. And then, you know, this Sarah Silverman, who I don't even know who this person is, other
Same
than
here.
they say she's a star. I guess she's a comedian, Bill, or whatever.
I know the name, but I would never have known of her without her stupid incendiary comments that she comes out with.
Exactly, and she's one of the so-called leading voices in this movement of, they call it empowering women. But this movement is nothing more than a total rebellion, because the devil's behind this. This is an usurping of the masculine, which they call that toxic masculinity now. You know, men like me and you, we're labeled, as these, we're too masculine. And so they don't want men to be men now. They want men to be effeminate, sissified. And they
want guys like you to offer ourselves up on the altar to the New World Order and just do away with us. We're like the dodo. They would rather see us going extinct the way things are right now.
Correct, you are. And so that's what this agenda is. So this Sarah Silverman, I wouldn't know her if I fell over. She makes this statement that she's so upset with, the way things are and taking the rights away from these abortions, that she would just eat a fetus. So that's what she's saying, that she would eat a fetus because, if her rights, I guess, to the abortion are taken away, that she would just go ahead and eat the fetus, the aborted fetus. So, I mean, Kev, think about that. Who in their right mind would even say something like that? How could you, a person of any kind of good conscience and a decent human being that has love and respect for others, especially, you would think, would cherish and love and respect the sanctity of life and, a little baby. How in the world, Kev, could they ever say something like that And it just, again, she's saying pro-life laws make her want to eat an aborted fetus. So who in their right mind would consider to say something like that? How? Why? There must be an agenda.
I'm just sitting here shaking my head, Bill, and, we read about ancient civilizations and, some of the stuff that, say, the Aztecs got up to, and we look at them as being bloodthirsty and barbaric and satanic, evil. It's no different to the times we're living in now, Bill. We're literally...
This goes right back to what you said earlier when we began the show. This goes back to Aleister Crowley. Do what thou wilt is the whole of the law. And he puts all these invocations, all these spells, and all these rituals that, if you do certain things, you will become empowered and you'll gain great power by doing this and by doing that. That's what this all comes down to his philosophy. And this is why you have the people like that Jay-Z walking around with shirts that say, do what thou wilt. That's what they are. They're copying Crowley to the letter.
No, absolutely. And you see all of the kind of major A-lister singers and actors. This is somebody that they pay homage to when it comes to Aleister Crowley. I remember when Bob Geldof's daughter tragically passed away, and it showed you her private library, Bill. And it was basically the full written works of Aleister Crowley. Here it was, Pride and Place. Yeah. This is what they're into.
And this has been going on, Kev. This has been going on way, way back since the 50s. I have a timeline on this, and you've had people on your show, Mark Devlin, I believe his name is,
yeah,
and David McGowan, who's no longer with us, that wrote a very good and powerful book about this. There's a timeline for all of this, and again, people, they just don't want to take the time to study it. If they did, their eyes would be wide open, but this goes all the way back to the beginning of rock and roll, and especially when the Beatles came in, because when the Beatles came in, and then the Rolling Stones, and then all the other bands, they called that the British invasion. And they called that the British invasion for a reason, because it was an invasion. It was the invasion of the American family, and it was used by the devil to divide the American family, which, from the up until the mid-1950s, was one of the greatest times to live in America. And so then that plan was hatched to destabilize the American family. And by the things that were done then and the seeds that were planted then, it's all come into fruition now. And that's why we are where we are as a society today, because of those things that were planted back then.
Absolutely. And, you can look at the agenda where they're confusing children younger and younger about sexuality and that kind of thing, Bill. And really, I think that's an invasion as well. Yes, there's the minions that are pushing the agenda here on Earth, the politicians, the elites, but there's something darker going to this. My gut tells me there's something far darker. And correct me if I'm wrong, but when it comes to Baphomet, does he not represent both the male and the female? And it's almost as if, literally right now, our youngsters are being encouraged to become something new, almost this androgynous being. And that ties right into the transhumanist side of things as well, right?
You're exactly right, and that's where this is going. So this has been a clever plan by the devil ever since the mid to late 50s, and then certainly all through the 60s, and then so on. This has been a very clever, well-calculated plan to wear, and this is a plan that you couldn't do overnight. This is a plan that you have to wear people down with. So you wear the public down mentally and spiritually as well. You wear them down into acceptance. So you keep pushing, and then people say, oh, okay, yeah, well, I accept that. It's just like the transgender thing. You push that agenda, and let me say this. I love all people. I don't have anything against anybody. And if you want to be gay or transgender or whatever, great. Keep it to yourself. I don't go around telling people what a great heterosexual I am. I don't want people to know about, my life in that way. So keep it to yourself. If that's what you want to do, that's between you and God. Fine. But there's an agenda at work here, and the agenda is that if you condition the masses into accepting these things as normal, then you could take the next step. So that's where, in my mind, it really started, with that agenda. And then the next step would be to start having the children, to make them very highly sexualized, and then give them the ability to say, little Johnny wants to be little Susie now or whatever, and they could do that, and the parents can't have any say in that whatsoever. And then the next step after that is the transhumanism. So now you're getting to the point to where you want to eliminate the races. There is no more male-female. So then you will lead the masses into taking what I believe absolutely 100% will be the mark of the beast, which is the chip, which will be inserted under the skin in the right hand. And people are going to line up in the millions to take it, Kev, because they're going to market this as the greatest technological discovery in the history of mankind, to where they will say, if you take this chip, you will be merged with the machine. You will never die again. You will become immortal. You'll never be sick again. All your information will be on this chip. It'll be so good. It'll be so cool. It'll be an easy way of life. And people are going to line up in the millions to take it.
You see, I know you're a busy man and you don't catch the first hour of the show, but I was actually saying I needed to ask you, because I truly believe that, call it the antichrist, call it what you will, I think it's going to be an AI, Bill. And it's like you say there, it's going to be something that we merge with. It's going to be something that can speak to all 7.5 billion individuals around the world, individually, all at once, in all the right languages that they need to hear. It will literally be able to perform miracles in front of our eyes when it comes to augmented and virtual reality and the Internet of Things and 5G that we're all living in now.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm not looking for a man or a woman. I think it's an algorithm. And of course, they'll dress it up as being totally fair. It's unbiased. It's not flawed like us humans. It doesn't have any of our prejudices or anything like that. And people will love it.
This is how, and this is part of the Bible, where the Bible talks about the lying signs and wonders. That's what this is. And again, I did not watch the stupid bowl. I didn't watch it, but I did read about it. And I read that most of the commercials were about robots and the transhumanism, and then, of course, the other agendas as well. But the empowering women. And again, look, I have nothing against women. I love everybody. I'm not speaking out against anybody, but God made an order in the world to things, and a man is supposed to be a man, period. I'm telling you this right now before God. I would never, under any circumstances, even if somebody had a gun to my head, I would never stop being who I am as a man of God, a strong man of God, a warrior for God. You're not going to get me to put on some kind of dress. You're not going to get me to go around putting on makeup or, saying that I'm a this or that. It's not going to happen. And I think that the agenda is to rid the earth of people like that.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more and more and more when you dive into the science side of things. Literally, we've become irrelevant. That heterosexual male that you were talking about, because we literally are not needed in any part of this new reproductive process that they're going to take us into this brave new world type future. Designer babies, artificial wombs. It sounds like something out of a science fiction movie. However, there is an agenda here. And, right now, maybe we're amongst the last few generations of men and women that actually have a bit of fight left in us, that will stand up and we will talk about it. And you look at what the education system is producing
I pray
now.
That more people will come together now.
Exactly.
I pray that, that more people like us will stand up and say enough. That's what I'm praying. I'm praying that people will stand up and say enough. We've had enough of this. We're not having this in our society anymore. Enough.
No,
and
you're
if
right.
people could come together in masses and do that, then the world can change. Otherwise, it's just going to continue to progress in this downward spiral until a great and terrible day comes. And I believe that if this doesn't turn around soon, I feel, now look, I'm not God and I can't think or speak for God, but in my spirit, I strongly believe, based on what's taking place here, that it's not going to be much longer before God does just press the button and say enough.
You see, I look at the earth changes that are going on a lot, Bill, and there's certainly a case to be made that we're entering some kind of cooling period right now. And we know there was a flood in the past, and I know it's meant to be by fire this time. However, I really do look at an Ice Age scenario as almost being like that God-sent reset button. Because how much worse can things get?
It's just, and again, we have deception all around us. We have deceivers all around us. We have those that are trying to condition the masses into acceptance. Look, the New York thing, where they just passed that New York abortion law. You know, the people were celebrating, Kev. They're celebrating. That's murder. Murder of babies. And they're celebrating that. And then, you know, like you mentioned earlier, this Ralph Northam, you know, the governor of Virginia, made the statements and comments he made about the killing of babies, and people they're celebrating this. What does that tell you? You know, the devil is definitely taking and twisting the minds of people, and the scripture tells us, woe to those that call evil good and good evil.
Absolutely. And, you know, there's companies like Ambrosia that we've talked about before. We're making it cool, you know, to take young blood of young children. And, you know, in a way, I think this whole abortion thing we're talking about kind of ties into that as well. Because it's a dark kind of road to go down, but there's money to be made on the back of that with organs and stuff like that as well. And again, we can't
You've hit the nail on the head, Kev. You've hit it right on the head there, because that's what this is really about. Is, yes, it is an agenda to twist and reshape the thinking in the minds of people, but the bottom line is money is being made here, and lots of money.
And I think that's the devil, you know. The devil's the one that gives that greed, the carrot and the stick to the elites that push this agenda. Because there has to be some incentive for them to do it, you know. I have to believe that they've got an ounce of, you know, normality to them. And what we're talking about here, no normal human being would participate in that, but you put that kind of money on the end of the issue. And it's amazing how flawed we are, how many people will do heinous things just to get a buck.
I mean, could you imagine, Kev? I could never imagine ever endorsing or supporting something like that, to where you're literally talking about the murder of babies. I wouldn't want to support any type of murder other than, I have to say this, that if I were the guy in control of the world or whatever, or the United States, there'd be an endless line and I am a man of God, and I do love people, but I, in my belief, I go back to the Old Testament, eye for an eye, to where these people that do these atrocities to others, and whether that is, you know, these wicked, heinous acts of, you know, sexually assaulting children and killing them or whatever, or women, is whatever it is, you know, if you're doing those kinds of wicked and heinous acts, then I feel that these are offenses punishable by death. And I would empty the prisons out of people like that. There'd be an endless line of these types being executed because, in my opinion, they have no place in our world. They have no place in our society. And then suddenly the thinking would change a bit if they were faced with any perpetrator that would be faced with a severe consequence like that. I think they would think twice before they would commit the wicked and heinous act, because they wouldn't want to face that.
No, absolutely, Bill. And we've got 5 minutes left, and I always like to leave people on a more positive note. And one thing that we can do in these times to protect ourselves personally is put on that full armor of God, something that you've taught me about in the past. So I'm going to hand over to you, Bill. We've got a few minutes left, and the floor is yours, sir.
Well, I want to thank you so much for having me on again, and I'm sorry to everybody for having such a powerful message, and some might interpret it as anger, and it is part anger because it's holy fury and passion about what's going on, because I don't want to see people suffering. I want to see everybody be able to go to heaven at some point. I want all people to do well and to be happy, and I certainly pray for everybody, and I'm going to pray right now, Kev. Father, I thank you and praise you for this blessed and appointed time. And it's always a pleasure to be on with Kev and to share and to talk. And even though, you know, this discussion is not pleasant, I know that it's necessary to talk about. And Father, I ask that you please bless all that are out there that are listening in or might be watching. Please bless them, Father, and keep them in your hedge of protection 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for life. Please bless Kev and his family and bless them with an abundance of love, peace, joy, good health, and prosperity for life. Keep them in your hedge of protection 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for life. And Father, we just give you the praise and the thanks and the glory for everything. And we will continue to keep you first, and we trust in you, and we know that even though the times are bad, we know that you are with us and you are for us. And if you're with us and for us, then the devil and his minions cannot stand against us. And we give you the praise and the thanks and the glory, Father, forevermore, in Jesus' name.
Absolutely fantastic, Bill. And where can people get in touch with you if they need your help personally? Because I know you've helped a number of the audience to KBS. So where can people get a hold of you?
Well, for anybody out there, if you are suffering and you're in spiritual need, please don't hesitate. I'm busy, but I'm never too busy to help somebody. And my website is BillJBean.com, and or you can punch me into Google and you'll get it. And email me. You can email me directly from the site. I answer every message, and either I will get back to you or my assistant, Melinda, will get back to you. And I'll certainly do anything that I can to help. Same thing if you want to get a copy of Stranger Than Fiction. And again, I'm so proud of Kev Baker being a part of that book and so thankful. Same thing, BillJBean.net or .com, and just click on and you can order your copy from there, and I'll personally sign it. And until the next time, my brother, God bless you and your family, and tell Joe I said hi. I know you got to jump over to his show. And I'll be looking forward to the next time, and maybe we could get Mike Subo on with us.
We will bring Mike on with us as well. I'll work on that behind the scenes. But Bill Bean, the spiritual warrior, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know about all of you out there, but I always feel a little more kind of special, a little glow about me every time Bill comes and shares his time with us here on the audience. And, of course, we'll bring Bill back next month and the month after, and we'll keep on going. Because there's so much to talk about in these dark times. So wherever you are, until the next time, make it TFR.